Today we're talking about how to launch your subscription business. We're going to walk through a couple different steps of launching and the process of launching your subscription business to ensure that you not only have good momentum out the door, but your product's in the right place and you're positioning yourself in your business to have a lot of success in your first couple months. If this is the first time you've been in a webinar with us before, I want to draw your attention to a couple things, namely the GoToWebinar control panel on the right-hand side of your screen. There's a question section there, and that's where you can ask questions throughout the webinar based on anything we're talking about. And I see we've got a couple questions in already. And we'll answer those at the end of the webinar session. The last 15, 20 minutes or so we devote to answering your questions. And besides that, take a minute to meet us. That's me on the left-hand side. My name's Jesse. And on the right-hand side is Subscription School with all of its credits here. If you haven't checked out Subscription School before, first of all, thanks for coming to one of our webinars. But I would encourage you to go back to subscriptionschool.com and check out all the cool features and content and different things we're doing for subscription businesses, specifically those centered around monthly boxes. Everything from guides for customer acquisition to shipping and fulfillment to videos of past webinars and other cool videos we've made in the past, to our webinar schedule where you can see all the up and coming webinars. One I would definitely encourage, if you are in this webinar today, make time for next week. Same time we're doing one on the holiday season and subscription boxes, which is going to be really cool, really exciting, brand new webinar, and we're going to cover a lot of cool stuff to help you get your revenue up for the holidays. So also check us out on Facebook, Subscription School, and we also have a private Facebook group called Subscription School, and it's an awesome group. There's over 2,000 of us here, all different levels of success and experience with subscription boxes. It's a really cool place to ask questions and get feedback and get a lot of help from a lot of cool people who care about each other, which is awesome. And then outside of that, if you do want our webinars delivered to your inbox, I would definitely encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is just youtube.com/subscription school. And if you want to learn about if you want to learn more about me, you can go to jesserichardson.com. And that's my blog. Okay, enough shilling for now. Let's jump into today's content. Go back here, and all right. So the overview of what we're talking about today is really how to get started. We're talking about some fundamental things for getting your product and the idea from a non-public state and not fully complete to fully completed and shipping out to subscribers each month. So we're going to cover a couple different steps to what I call the official launch, everything from getting those early adopters to converting them and lead nurturing them, and some benchmarks that you're going to want to have along the way to make sure your idea is as good as it is and you're executing on it as well as you can. And then also at the end of this webinar today, I'm also going to give you a quick challenge for me, which will be a quick assignment that you can get started on today, so you actually are moving forward on this idea and creating some of that momentum for yourself. Step one here is start a free trial. I encourage this every time I do this webinar because I think that understanding the tools you're using while you build your business are going to really help you understand more about that business. And so by using CrateJoy, for example, you can go in there, you can poke around, shipments, customer profiles, you can learn more about the marketplace, you can make coupons. There's different things that you can get started on right now that will just help you kind of get those operational chops you'll need once you actually launch a business with customers. I wouldn't suggest, launching your business and for the first time trying to edit an address only after you've actually have a real customer. That's something that you should test and get familiar with, a couple weeks beforehand. And it's free. You can go and you can start a free trial and you can get it extended by tweeting and Facebooking and all that social stuff. And so it doesn't have to cost you anything and you don't need a credit card. So I encourage you to do that. And if you do that, when you get to the sign up screen, just mention Subscription School or a webinar or something. Let us know where you came from. That would be awesome because it helps me see, where people are coming in and signing up from. So let's talk about launching now. The launch is a multi-step process. And when I say that, I always like to come back to the idea that you can do it in a weekend. Like it's not incredibly difficult given the nature of a subscription business and shipping a product in a box once a month. You could choose 30 days from now and have that be your first shipment, and you might be able to, or you probably would, you definitely can build a business by that time and get customers. Now, even though that's possible, I think that extending the launch and focusing on it in a couple different sections helps you become more successful once you are up and running. And it's for a couple different reasons. One of the reasons why is everybody thinks they have a great idea, and a lot of ideas that I've seen, especially in this group and in this community, they're thought out. You know, you guys are thinking about things very meticulously, and you might have a great idea of what you want to have your business about, but you need to validate that. And by taking a slower approach to launching, you give yourself the opportunity to listen to real customers and real people and observe real metrics to gauge how successful your box will be. And not only is that good for a business stability standpoint, but also really helps in some early operations with subscription boxes, which we'll get into a little bit later. Also, it allows you to test your product market fit. So maybe your idea is really good, but you noticed during like a pre-launch that it's actually a slightly different community than you thought it was, because you tested different forms of advertising on different types of audiences, and you polled them, and you give yourself the opportunity to do some data collection on your actual target customer. By taking a multi-step approach, you can enable yourself to do that, and you can test that product market fit and really determine if your box is the right fit for that type of consumer you may be thinking about. Also, you can build anticipation. By taking time with this and nurturing your leads throughout a process, those people get really, really excited, and I think in a large way helps them become more loyal once your business has launched. And ultimately, taking this multi-step approach, the biggest benefit that I see is you give yourself a lot of great positioning to generate revenue early on that you can fund your business and different ideas and get you paid back on certain investments down the line, and much more quickly than just jumping the gun and just launching a business in a weekend. So I'm going to go through this process today and look how we can optimize this process and certain things that you can do during it to make sure you're going to execute your official launch the right way. So the step one here, and actually, before I jump into this, let me ask you guys. I see a question here I want to address really quick. This is being recorded, Renato, so it will be recorded and put up on Subscription School later. That's a common question. So let me ask you this before we actually jump into the content I'm going to give you. I want to ask you one or two questions here. And my first one is, have you tried starting a business before? So I want to know, is this a completely new experience for you, or have you done something similar, maybe even another subscription box? I should probably make that an option. Or maybe you've tried but you actually haven't gotten to a formal launch yet. And I'll leave this up here for a couple more seconds. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close this poll. If you wanted to vote, this is your last chance. Okay, I'm going to close it. I'll show these results so everybody can know where everybody else is at. So most of you have. That's awesome. I think earlier this week when we did this, most people hadn't, which is interesting. So this is great. So I think even for the people who have, I think we'll cover a lot of cool, interesting stuff in here that's applicable to subscription boxes specifically. And I hope you guys pick up a lot of cool, just kind of business fundamental stuff here too. Let me see if I want to ask another question. Sure, I'll just launch this one now because you guys are fully engaged. What stage are you at right now in launching your subscription business? So, are you already live? Are you just coming up with the idea? Are you doing a pre-launch right now? And it's okay if you don't know what a pre-launch is yet. We'll definitely cover what that is today. But just let me know, where are you at in bringing this idea to market, this product to market? Okay, perfect. Looks like we've got most people who voted already. I'll share these results with you so you can kind of see where everybody else is at. This is about 30, 40 people or so. Looks like a lot of you guys have your idea chosen, and you're starting on those early tasks, and no one here has actually launched yet, which is cool. That's the first time I've had this webinar where no one's actually launched. So this is great. I think you guys are definitely in the right webinar today. So let's talk about doing the launch here. And for those of you who are pre-launching, even if you've already started your pre-launch, there might even be some cool things that you can apply from today's talk about it. The first step in this process is the teaser or the pre-launch phase. And so you guys just noticed on that last question, you might be asking yourself, what is pre-launching? What are they talking about right now? A pre-launch is almost like a soft launch. It's called that, or it's sometimes just called a teaser, or there's probably some other names people call it. But basically the idea is you're making yourself public and known, and you're doing something for your business without the product actually being out in the world yet. So the way I like to think about it is with subscription boxes, this is a period before your first shipment that allows you to collect a lot of data and a lot of leads and a lot of opportunity to generate a lot of early revenue faster than you otherwise would have. And there are some things during this process that you're going to want to have close to complete before you bring it to the public eye. So if you are just coming up with the idea right now, doing a pre-launch probably isn't the thing to do tomorrow. You want to work through your branding and your logo. You want to work through your messaging, your marketing copy and the voice. You want to develop your product basically to, and this is slightly arbitrary percentage, but about 80%. And I say 80% because you want to know what you're going to be called, because that's going to help you, determine your domain and what product you're actually selling people. So you need that down. You need some early branding stuff down. You want to know how your product is going to look. You don't need packaging done. You don't need packaging for photos, but you're going to want to have something that's like, a pre-launch page that's indicative of what's being included in your box. And you're going to want to have a way that you are pitching yourself. Like, this is part of the test of the pre-launch phase is, what marketing language is compelling to your audience, and it's something that you can test. But basically, you should have it up mostly done. It should be a pretty nice package of completeness that you're then ready to sell people, and you say, hey, this is my idea. Are you interested in reserving a spot for this? And that's really what the goal of this phase comes down to. It's collecting initial interest, building that anticipation with people. But like I said before, this is the same stage where you can validate your idea. You're going to be looking at some specific landing pages in a couple slides and a specific set of conversion rates that I think define different levels of success. So this will be the first one, the foundational step in actually getting buy-in from the public and people who are actually going to go out and purchase something. So you might be asking yourself, okay, so what does the pre-launch phase look like? Like, what am I actually building? It sounds important, but it kind of feels, maybe it feels a little random, or it's vague or something. Here's an example. And I think this is a cool example for a couple different reasons. First, just kind of take a step back and kind of digest the page and look and see what it is. Yogi Surprise, a yogi-inspired monthly surprise. I'll let you guys read the screen here. And you know what? Let me break this a little bit larger to make sure you guys can see everything. So it's a yoga box. It's a yoga subscription. This is actually a business made by a friend of mine, and I like the page for a couple of different reasons. Number one, it's simple. Kind of like what we just talked about, it's about gauging initial interest and seeing if people are actually going to care about it. But at the same time, we need to have our product at a certain point. And let's analyze this page. At the first point, you can see Yogi Surprise, the brand. It's a mostly completed brand. It's a pretty simple typeface logo with a little bit of customization there on the Y. It's a little exclamation point. It has a really interesting tagline, a yogi-inspired monthly surprise, and then it has a short reason to care, one sentence. So whether you're a wellness enthusiast or a seasoned yoga master, Yogi Surprise is the perfect complement to your healthy lifestyle. And then below that is a call to action, get invited. And then below that is an incentive, win a lifetime subscription. It's a really simple call to action right here with what sounds like a really cool offer, winning a lifetime subscription. So it's alluring to people who, if a yogi lands on this page, it piques their interest. What I like about this page is there's not a single box in the photo. It's just a girl kind of doing a slightly yoga-esque, position sitting on the beach, which it doesn't have examples of what's in the box. It doesn't have a box. It doesn't have finished product photos. But this did really well. I think this page converted at about 17 or 18%, which is solid. It means almost 1 in 5 people who were hitting this page were signing up and giving Yogi Surprise their information so they could be informed when it launched. I think that this is a great example of how to be uniquely vague, but still really niche and direct, with very, very simple branding and very, very simple imagery, with a really cool incentive. Now, as another example, which is a slightly different, you can look at Prosperly. So if you're interested in learning more about Prosperly, go to subscriptionschool.com, and there's a guide pinned at the top. It's all about the pre-launch and the process behind this, and more analysis on this page. But Prosperly is an artisan food subscription. I started it last year, and I run it now with my brother and my friends and family, and it's focused on healthy natural food and bath and body items, mostly from the Pacific Northwest. So this is our landing page. So here you can see it's similar in some respects to Yogi Surprise. We've got a simple logo. It's a font face logo. We have a color kind of coming through, like Yogi Surprise had that purple. Possibly has an orange. You can see at the top the banner text is orange. We've obviously got this big orange background, and then there's a short tagline. Ingredients for a happy life delivered. And then there's a brief description, a little bit longer than Yogi Surprises. It's not just one sentence. There's not one recipe for success with landing pages. And you can see here, it's 3 or 4 sentences. It's a little bit more detail about what's going to be included: artisan crafted delicacies, handmade bath and body essentials, and inspiring ways to have fun with friends and discover new ideas. Wow, that's a lot of stuff. We've been called the most helpful subscription. So join today and receive 10% off. And you can see that incentive there is both at the top of the page and right above the email address field. And just like Yogi Surprise 2, it's a simple one ask thing. We're not asking for their name, not their zip code, not their mother's maiden name, but seriously, it's a very simple ask. It's just an email address that we're looking for. And it's a very low commitment for people that might be interested in this niche to then leave behind their information and potentially be a subscriber. And this page converted at about 22%. So that's about in between 1 and 4 of every person who hit this page signed up to be a pre-subscriber. I think that is a really good indication when you're doing your pre-launch. If you're seeing conversion rates at 17, 18, 19, 20%, it's a good indication that your marketing is hitting the right people and that your idea is compelling and interesting to them. So let's look at one more example of a pre-launch page, because I want to really show that it can be all different types of structures and incentives and amounts of content. Harry's is probably one of the best examples because these guys had like a crazy awesome launch. If you want to learn more about Harry's, I definitely suggest you do. And just go to Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Workweek blog and type in, Harry's pre-launch story. Harry's razor, I just noticed they're now in like Targets. They've been in Targets for a while, and I'm seeing them more and more. And so these guys have really, really blown up. And what started that business was a really effective pre-launch. Here you can see their landing page. Also very simple. A little bit of this light branding. Interesting, they also use a font face logo. But you can see the H there on the razor. That's kind of the center of the picture. So there's some good cohesion behind the branding and the page behind it. Look at the reason to care. Respecting the face in the wallet since like right now. I think they hit the target demographic of their business really, really well. And you can see that they knew who they were by the messaging there. And see how different the messaging there is to this, to this. It's 3 different types of audiences. And each page is tailored to that audience. And that product completion, that 80% of development, was done for each one of these products. Look at their incentive too. Be the first to know. It's not a percentage off. It's not a lifetime subscription. It's be the first to know. And I think that is really cool, and I want to include it for partly that reason, is that you might find yourself kind of debating on how do you get people to sign up. Test your different incentives. It doesn't have to be a discount. It doesn't have to be some big prize. It can just be the idea of mystery. So there's no one right way to do a lot of these elements on these pages. But interestingly, I think there is one right way to do one of them, which is a simple call to action. I think that making your call to action in your request from early stage customers, very, very simple, is key. I think if you can just get email, it makes it very, very much more likely that you're going to get more conversions on your page. Now, this can totally depend on your business. So if you're doing a lead generation business for like business consulting stuff, and you need to enter 10 fields about annual revenue and things that make sense that that your target customer is going to be, obsessed with filling out or something, I'm just using them as an example, then maybe that's different. But I think that generally for most of the ideas here, doing a very simple call to action is the way to go. I see a lot of launch pages, ask for a name and email, and I think that just reducing that, you might get a couple percentage higher points in conversion, and I think that, can go a long way, especially when you're talking about big volumes doing a pre-launch. I don't know what Harry's converted at, unfortunately, and they don't mention it in the guide, which I wish they did, but they did get 100,000 emails in a 1-week period. So it was a very effective page, and I imagine the conversion rate was pretty high, or they had some, really, really awesome, marketing behind it. They had a really great referral program, and that's the other thing, too, I want to mention is on each one of these thank you pages, Harry's, Prosperly's, and Yogi Surprise, there's an incentive to invite your friends. And so if you want to build this, there are some resources that you can use to build it. So outside of Cratejoy, there are other platforms you can use. Cratejoy just created pre-launch pages. In fact, it's so recent I haven't even updated this slide yet. It's like the last couple days, pre-launches are now in beta, and so you can get it if you email our support team. But it's a pre-launch page that just looks basically just like this. It's a background with a place to drop in your email. So I would definitely encourage checking that out, because you could then get all of your customer information on one platform. Another one is LaunchRock. I have found that LaunchRock is a good option, especially if you have a developer. If you try to go it alone and you're not very tech savvy, it can be a real pain in the butt. I continue to use LaunchRock because of the native sharing app inside of it. So with LaunchRock, that thank you screen is going to be a sharing thing. It'll generate a unique URL and then track people who sign up through that URL and have reports on LaunchRock, which is really cool. But there are definitely lots of other options. If you want other options, let's click this guide really quick. And there's a guide on Subscription School, simple steps for a powerful pre-launch. And there are other ones: Instapage, Lander app, Unbound, Kickoff Labs, Rocket Start, and there are more besides that as well. So there are a lot of different options to do this, but the idea is for each one of them is basically the same. These are all tools that you can use to create simple landing pages to gather leads. And on this guide too, we go through LaunchRock a little bit more. But again, I do not like LaunchRock. Unfortunately, they used to be much better, but they have fallen from greatness. I'm just kidding. Sorry, LaunchRock. I don't mean to be so mean. Anyways, outside of that, you are also going to need some type of email marketing solution or platform, I should say, like MailChimp. I recommend MailChimp because, first of all, they have a great free trial, and then also because it's really, really easy to use. There are tons of different options with this one too. I won't go into all of them, but with MailChimp, you import your email subscribers, add them to lists, and then you can start sending out welcome emails and drip funnels and that type of thing. You can build a lot of automation in MailChimp that helps you nurture these leads, which we'll go over in the next slide. If you're maybe even already launched, and I know that no one's here is, but I do usually draw attention to the SumoMe app, which is on Cratejoy. You wouldn't need this if you're doing the pre-launch theme, because the pre-launch theme in and of itself is a lead capture, so you don't need to double up on your lead capture. But SumoMe, if you were to already have been launched, it's a tool for an opt-in to pop up. Okay, anyways, let's move on from this. Step one, in terms of getting the people to this page, like how do we actually get people here? There's a couple things that you can do. Number one is niche blogger outreach. One of the most effective things we did with our launch of Prosperly is we reached out to a couple people who we knew liked these types of products, and we had them announce it on their blogs. We promised them boxes to review, or special coupons for their users to use. But that was a great source of qualified, targeted traffic. But you can do other things too, and you can do the whole blogger outreach with Instagram ambassadors or social influencers as well. So these would be people who have YouTube channels, Instagrams, maybe big Facebook pages, who you can strike up a similar deal with. Maybe it's a box, maybe it's a discount for the readers, maybe it's both, whatever. Maybe it's a giveaway they host, and you can get their traffic. They'd make a couple posts about it and have them push their traffic back to your page too. You can also just do organic methods via social. So like I'm thinking, using Instagram and going under hashtags and liking people's photos and going to, different Instagrams with strong followings, and then following the people that follow that brand that's similar to yours. So for example, with Prosperly, I might go to Whole Foods Instagram and follow people who like Whole Foods because of the, organic natural food niche. With Harry's, they could go, follow people on, who follow Gillette or, some other type of shaving company. With Yogi Surprise, maybe it's, Lululemon or something like that account, or, there's lots of Yogi accounts that exist where you can reach out to those people and they would be highly interested in the type of product you're selling. And so you could use those methods not only to find people to be ambassadors and influencers, but also to use them as places to mine leads, and like their people, their followers' photos, and follow those people and comment and engage with them. That's a really great way to get a lot of free traffic, and it takes time, and it can be an uphill battle at times. But one of the cool things about that is that you do get a better sense of product market fit. If you think that your customer looks like the customer of something else, that is a great way to test it. And if those people don't respond well to your constant promotion, and I mean like in terms of like following, liking, if you notice that you've done, a couple weeks of work under this certain hashtag or under this certain account, and that traffic just is not converting well, then maybe that's an indication that you have a different type of looking consumer. So either way, whatever your way that you're pushing traffic back to this, and there's even more besides this. You can do partnerships with emails. There's lots of stuff that you could think of. You're going to want to keep your leads warm. So as you do get emails, you're going to need to talk to those people and engage with them constantly so your product stays top of mind. I usually suggest sending out an email once a week or so. Definitely a welcome email that sends as soon as they sign up. But you can figure out your own cadence, but with the right amount of communication, that anticipation that they had at the moment they signed up is going to compound over time. They're going to be interested in this thing, and if they're constantly reminded about it, they're going to be like, dang, when is that box coming? I felt the same exact way when I bought this bacteria Namicon book on Kickstarter. It was this really cool book that like takes all these different bacterias and antibacterials and shows them alongside in different ways and like with different illustrations. And it was a really cool book, right? I was like nerded out. I wanted it on my coffee table. And I remember following along. Like, it's a little bit different because it was a Kickstarter, but it's very much a similar feeling where I bought this book through Kickstarter, and they emailed me every couple weeks, every week or so, with updates, samples of the artwork they were making, pictures of the printing, that type of thing. And I got so excited when it was going to come. I was like, at the end of it, I was like, oh my God, please just send this to me. And I think that anticipation and that feeling is what you want to go for when you're doing lead nurturing over the course of your launch. So let's talk benchmarks really quick. I would say limit yourself to 1 or 2 months. You don't really want to go past 60 days. 60 days can even be long to wait for something. I waited like 3 months for that book, and it was like at the end of it, I almost regretted buying it. That's how long it was. Not that I didn't find interest in it, but because I was just so upset that I didn't have it yet. But in terms of lead, I suggest going for 2,000 to 5,000 emails. Now, every single time I say this, and for weeks after and months after, we've been doing this webinar for a couple months now, maybe even almost a year at this point, I've had so many people say, Jesse, the 2,000, when I saw that number, my heart just dropped. I cannot do that. And I know it's a big, aggressive goal, but that's why it's a goal. It might be a stretch goal, but I would say aim for that, because you're going to want to have at least hundreds of good leads. And I mean, I would say somewhere at least at the very minimum 500. And that minimum of 500 isn't going to get you a lot of customers. It's going to get you maybe dozens of customers. If you want to launch your business and have hundreds of subscribers, you're going to need to have thousands of emails, or close to 1,000 emails plus, to get that type of conversion rate. Unless you find during the pre-launch process that you're getting like a 75% conversion rate or something crazy high on your landing page, those people might be extremely motivated to buy when you launch. But if you're seeing a normal conversion rate somewhere between 10, 15, 20%, which you can see here on the bottom, visitor to pre-subscriber conversion rate should be 10 to 20% minimum. If you're seeing something like that, I would not expect the majority of your email leads to convert. I'd expect somewhere along the lines of 15 or 20% or so, which we'll talk about the true conversion rate later on. But aim for a big goal, because the more ammunition you give yourself, the bigger the firepower is going to be in the beginning, and that's going to be more revenue early on. So let's talk about that revenue, and let's talk about that formal launch. And before I jump into step 2, let me just make sure we don't have too many questions piling up here. It doesn't look like we have an absurd amount of questions yet. Okay, perfect. I'll keep on going through this. I'm going to try to get this done here in the next 8 to 12 minutes. And I'll get to these questions for you. So let's talk about the formal launch. The formal launch occurs on the day that you actually accept sales. So this is the time where you're now a public business, and you can accept revenue, and you're actually compiling your list of customers. So you're not in the pre-launch phase anymore. The pre-launch phase now redirects to your main website. It's time to take subscribers. What should have been done before you did this, before you launched this phase here, is you should have a nice list built, and you should have nurtured that list. It's really important that you email those people. You should have your website ready and built, and your billing system all set up. So your bank account, your processor chosen, et cetera, et cetera. You're going to want to probably make some early product choices and packaging decisions, because if you're accepting customers and you're a monthly subscription, you're probably going to need to send out a box within a month. So you're going to need to have those conversations started. Usually I like to say, with the pre-launch, about halfway through your pre-launch, depending on how many days you're going for, you should probably start those conversations. So if you were doing your launch for 45 days, your pre-launch for 45 days, then at about, day 20, 25, you should really start contacting your manufacturers for packaging. If you're doing packaging, and you really should start contacting your vendors who are going to provide product for your first box so that they can be prepared to give you an order. So the phase 2 goals during this next part, now that we've done all that work and we're actually going to launch and take revenue, is primarily that operation, is converting that initial anticipation and those emails into actually paying subscribers. So the really cool thing about doing this pre-launch as opposed to a pre-sales campaign, and a pre-sales campaign could be likened to a Kickstarter campaign or the Celery app on Cratejoy. The cool thing about doing the pre-launch campaign is you're still giving yourself an opportunity to do pre-sales. It's really a unique kind of mix of both strategies. I don't call it a pre-launch sales campaign, just not to confuse it. But when you pre-launch and the day you actually open subscriptions, you're essentially giving yourself a couple weeks before you actually have to ship a product. That might be a shorter time than a Kickstarter would run, or it might be actually roughly around the same time. But what you've done before you've started that pre-sale is you've developed that list of leads, and now you've got people interested in a product, and now they can go check out. So this is going to give you a big opportunity to fund your own business. So you have spent, just dozens of dollars on domains and LaunchRock and a couple, 2 hours for a developer and a couple, stock photos, and maybe, a couple bucks on a Fiverr, and you've got a decent looking logo or whatever you need for your launch page. During the first week or two of your actual website being live and you pushing a ton of emails out to your leads list, you might generate thousands of dollars in revenue depending on what your price point is and depending on how many emails you got yourself. Now, each one of those transactions is going to have a profit margin, and pricing is definitely something that you're going to want to have thought out. So if you're interested in learning more about pricing, definitely I encourage you to go to Subscription School and look for pricing articles and look at the Cratejoy pricing calculator. But if you give yourself a good enough margin, all those early sales, all that profit can go to paying for that manufacturing for your custom boxes. It can go to early advertising ideas and extra stuff from the first box to make it extra awesome. And it can also go to you. You can start to pay yourself back for the domain and for the LaunchRock and for the development. And that can happen if you have a strong list of leads. Now, there's a lot of stuff that also has to happen at the same time. Before your first shipment goes out, it's a good goalpost to set yourself to get your website at a point of real public consumption. When you are, at the point of sending out your product every single month and you're always constantly promoting yourself, you're going to want to have your website in a really good place. That's going to be a place that can convert people who have never heard of you before. This first month or so, the majority of people signing up are going to be your leads list, people that you've already sold a little bit. So, it's a time where you want to build out the rest of your website and make sure it is fully ready for the amount of traffic it's going to get once product is being posted everywhere, and once your bloggers and stuff are now posting their reviews, not just the shout outs to your launch page. But build out the rest of your business. Do site updates. Build better email funnels. Test new lead generation ideas. Start to position your business for lots of momentum now that your product is going to be in people's hands. And then at the same time, it's time to do some serious evaluation. What is your true conversion rate? I'm going to give you that number on the next slide, but it's about looking at how many sales you're getting from your leads list, and how interested those people are, what comments they're giving you, what feedback they're giving you on your product and the price point and that type of thing. And when you do this, you're doing something really cool, assembling a founding marketing army. And the founding marketing army is basically the set of people from your leads list who sign up. And those people, I've seen again and again and again over the years that initial group of customers can be some of the most loyal and highly stable customer bases for your whole entire business, because they feel like they're a part of your journey. That's why I call them the founding members. Give them the code, founder, for whatever the percentage offer is, or whatever the bonus item is, or whatever your promotion. Give them a title. Really cool people who did this was Loot Crate. Loot Crate did it the first month, and I remember thinking when I first saw it, this is kind of silly, but actually it was really cool. And I still have my first Loot Crate card. I was looter number 14, and they sent out this wooden card with my name on it in all their first boxes. And it was really cool because it's like I'm a founding member. Like it made me feel like I was a part of that journey. And I kept getting Loot Crate for many months, for many years. And so by making people feel really vested in your launch, that's going to do a lot of good for you down the line. So let's look at the benchmarks and timing a little bit more here. So how long is this phase? This first phase where you're actually collecting dollars? It's at least 1 month. Probably you could extend it a little bit longer. The way that you would do this is after you've launched, you have people signing up, and then you're being meticulous about making sure they're not renewing until their first box is shipped. So you can easily push back shipping dates within Cratejoy, so they're pushed to the next batch. And so you can run it for more than a month if you wanted to. But here's the idea: if you open up for pre-subscribers on October 1st, that's really fitting because that's coming up very soon. Your first shipment would go out November 1st or maybe November 16th. Now, depending on when your shipment's going out, you're going to want to communicate that very, very clearly to your subscribers, that they know it's not something that they sign up for today and it gets shipped tomorrow. It's really important you set that expectation and you do a good job with explaining how the product's getting to them, so you don't hurt that initial loyalty that they gave you because they've been following you for months. If you explain it to them, they will very likely not have a problem with the dates. It's a very small issue. I very rarely see people during pre-launches get really upset that the box doesn't ship for 3 weeks. It's more like, awesome, sweet, I'm the first group of members. I can't wait for this thing to come out. While this is happening, like I mentioned in the last slide, what's the true conversion rate? Now, the successful lead to paying conversion is what I've noticed generally is 5 to 10%. I have seen it be higher, 15, 20, even 25%. But generally, I think you should want to you should assume in the middle, kind of most normal range, which I think is 5 to 10%, and maybe even closer to 10%. I just put the 5% in there just because it's just so different with different price points. There's so many variables here that I want to give you the most realistic assumption. I don't want to tell everybody that they're going to get like 30% of the pre-subscribers. But the successful lead to paying conversion is those emails that sign up through your pre-launch page and then actually purchased your product. So you had a conversion rate on your pre-launch page that maybe it's 18%. 18% of people who hit your pre-launch page subscribed or became a pre-subscriber, and then you had that 18% of people. So if that was 1,000 people, that's 180 people who joined your email list. Now assume that 5 to 10% of those people are actually going to purchase your product. So that's more like 9 to 18 people actually signing up for your monthly subscription. I think that's a relatively good assumption. And if you assume that and it does better, that's great for you. But don't depending on what your offering is and your price point, you can do some things to change it. But I think that's the most realistic assumption I can provide you guys in terms of final true conversion rate. So think about that in terms of the 2,000 email list lead goal. If you have 2,000 emails and you get 10% of people to convert, you have 200 paying subscribers that are very loyal to you. That can be the start of a really, really awesome subscription business. If you're making $10 a box, you're giving yourself $2,000 a month in gross profit. That can immediately supplement a lot of cool advertising, a lot of cool things that you can do to grow your business very quickly. And that's why that goal is what it is. Step 3 is the launch of the momentum. So we went through 30, 45 days or so of this pre-sale period, and we've got a bunch of revenue. We got all of our products figured out. Our packaging is here. Now it's time to actually put the stuff in people's hands. And this is the shipment. This is marked by the shipment of your first boxes. Now you're in business. Like at this point now, like you are committed. Like you're about to have this stuff on blast. You know what I mean? Like if people are going to be posting about it, people are going to be reviewing it. The traffic, the interest, depending on how wide of a net you cast it early on, is going to start to get like really super powered. A lot of snowballing is about to happen. So what you want to do during this phase is use those original influencer partners to help you announce now your real official launched. They can do this by announcing it through a review. So send them the box and say, this box just launched this month. Look at this is their first box. And that will be a great way to not only re-access people who might have been interested before but didn't pre-subscribe, but also remind the people on their list who did come to your website and pre-subscribe that you are now launched. So you're kind of touching, you're softly touching base with people you've already announced your launch to, and now they're seeing someone else review it and re-announce it for you. It helps with those some of those people who might be on your leads list, but just we're kind of waiting for that extra nudge from their favorite social influencer. It's also another time to launch your full site, finish building it out. At this point, you should be ready to convert people who have never heard of you before. And then re-announce your official launch to your unconverted leads list. So everybody who hasn't subscribed yet, make sure that over that 4 or 6 week period, you have continuously marketed it to them. And at this time here, you're going to definitely want to have a couple tools built out completely. One of them is going to be customer service solutions. If you have 200 boxes going out, now's the time you're going to want to make sure that you are optimizing the amount of work that you're going to be needing to do with your subscribers. So using Zendesk is a great idea. Zendesk is an awesome tool. It basically pulls in all your emails, all your social media stuff into one platform, and you can reply to everything all in one place. You can build views, you can make macros or kind of pre-canned responses. You can create these different, you can use placeholders so it pulls in their name and their subscription number automatically. There's a lot of cool things that you can do to save a lot of time there. Trust me, when I first started my first subscription business in 2011, I was doing everything out of a Microsoft Outlook inbox while I'm trying to sort everybody by folders. And let me tell you, that is not the way to do it. Zendesk will save you time and some serious headaches. And you should sort of identify some areas of improvement. Branding. Does the brand come across like how you wanted it to? Was that conversion rate you got 5% and not 10%? And do you think that you can improve that? And have you acted on that yet? Have you optimized things like your checkout page? Have you made sure that your packing operation is going to go smoothly next month? This is a time where you can do some reflection because you've actually sold a product to people and you've sent the product to people. So keep your ear to the ground, listen to what people are saying, and see what improvements you can make for your month 2 shipment. And then if you want to, if you have a good solid launch, you have hundreds of subscribers, and you don't like fulfillment, you don't like packing boxes, check out the resources page on subscriptionschool.com. There are a lot of really cool fulfillment companies there, and that's one of the operations I suggest you do outsource. Once you're at the 2, 3, 4, 500 subscriber mark, the amount of time it will save you will be multiple days, and by saving yourself multiple days, you can go get more customers on those days. And I think that it's important early on to kind of orient your mind around the idea of, I do not want to be a fulfillment company. I want to be a marketing and product company. And those two are different things. So that's something I definitely suggest. Now, let's go back to this next slide. At this point, you should be ready to jump into this. What are you waiting for? It's time to take this thing on. You've got a good plan laid out. There are a lot of different strategies here that you can start employing right now. It'd be easy, even if for those of you who are still just thinking of your idea, it would be easy for you to put up a launch page and start to look at that conversion rate, start to like things on Instagram. It can be very, very low effort for a lot of really good return in 30, 45, 60 days. Really quick, let me look at this assignment. So it's Friday, September 23rd. On September 30th, you should have some stuff done. I would like you guys to maybe post about this in Subscription School or on the Subscription School wall, and let me know the progress. Have a store set up. Get your Cratejoy account to a place where you can start to play with a lot of cool things. You don't have to bring it to market yet. You don't have to publicize it. But have your idea chosen. Have your thoughts about how you're going to market yourself, what your first batch of items are going to look like, what your branding is going to look like. And share that with us in Subscription School, or email me and tell me what you think about it and what your progress is, and I'm happy to check it out. By this point, you should have started your free trial and told them that Subscription School sent you. You should download some free resources. Some cool free resources I will draw your attention to is, first off, on Subscription School, in the resources section here. Go to it. There's an influencer blogger outreach sheet. So we talked about this a little bit. This is an Excel sheet that basically helps you keep it organized. There's a product sourcing worksheet, which is basically another Excel that helps you keep your vendors organized. There's a how to source products, a short guide. So a couple different places that I like to source products from. And there's a getting started growth checklist. All 4 of these things can really help you with your launch. Now, if you're really interested in products and how you're going to get products, I also send out a free the first 2 pages of my brand invitation. So when I try to get brands in my box, I send them an invitation. If you go to jesserichardson.com or follow me on on Facebook and then click through to there. You can sign up for a newsletter, and I usually send it out once every week or so, and I'll make sure to send it out this weekend, which is a brand invite. So it's like, here's who we are, here's why you should partner with us, etc., etc. But there's a lot of cool free resources that you can grab, including these ones on Subscription School, and a lot of other videos that I would suggest you check out and start to get your chops down on how you're going to launch this business. Ultimately, though, get started working on your brand, get started working on your store, and get yourself to a point where the idea isn't so much of an idea anymore, and it's really, a product in motion. And then next up, schedule that pre-launch. Get more interest, start to get that page publicized, start to reach out to brand influencers, and start to run that process and see how it feels to you, and see how, quickly you can start to generate that interest. So let's jump into the Q&A. I'll leave up a couple of these action item reminders. Start your free trial at Cratejoy. Develop your product and branding to 80%. Review our resources at subscriptionschool.com and at jesserichardson.com. And now ask us a question. So let me jump into this. And while I'm looking through these, I'm going to ask you guys this question while I sort through some of these questions here. And that question to you is, what's the biggest thing preventing you from launching your business? And I'll leave this up here for a couple more seconds, and then we'll jump in your guys' questions. Looks like we got a good amount of them, but there are a lot of you here, and if you guys do have questions, and I imagine there are plenty questions that are in your head circulating right now, just drop them in the question section. I will answer anything that you want me to answer that has to do with subscription boxes. And I'm going to go ahead and close this poll now. Thank you, everybody, for sharing those things with me. And let me share these results with you so you guys can see what other people are thinking. Financial constraints is consistently the #1 thing people choose, and I'm gonna go into that a little bit more based on this response, because I want you guys to know that you can launch these businesses for very, very, very little money. Designing creative tasks. I can't even begin to tell you how much I agree with that answer. It was definitely one of the biggest challenges for me when I tried to launch a business by myself. And for those of you who are lacking the confidence or the time or the commitment, because I kind of find those two reasons sometimes overlap, doing this pre-launch is the #1 best thing I've seen for business owners to boost their confidence. And it's the #1 easiest thing that requires the least amount of time or commitment that I've seen with business owners who do this. Doing a pre-launch page doesn't require dozens of hours of work. Do it be a couple hours a month. Building that page does not require more than a couple hours of work. So it's not something that's going to be really time intensive, or you're going to have to make this huge commitment, hire a developer. You don't always have to do that. You can spend $50 here, $50 there if you want to, and maybe, pep it up a little bit, but you can give yourself the experience for very, very little risk. And if you think you do have a good idea and you're lacking that confidence, putting up a pre-launch and seeing a conversion rate as 20%, 25%, because you know that people are going to dig what you're selling, then that is like the #1 thing that I've seen people have been like, oh my gosh, I didn't know if I was going to launch a subscription business, and then I did, and now I quit my job. Like, I've seen that story several times occur, even in subscription school. So definitely just try it. You'll never know unless you try it, and you can spend $15 in a couple hours and get a good test out there and start to build your confidence with the results you see. Okay, so I'm going to hide those results. And let's jump into these questions. So Janine, hey Janine, asked, I want to get my question in early because I can't stay much later than 4. Oh my gosh, I'll answer this really quickly then. Okay, how do we get people to sell us their products for wholesale or less than wholesale prices? This is mostly for Etsy type folks. Janine, great question. I think it really, really depends on what your niche is and what kind of products you're trying to buy. Now, beauty products, stuff like that, made in big vats. Vats makes them sound bad, but they can make them in bigger batches. Whereas maybe an artisanal, slow churned vanilla sugar butter might be a lot more expensive. So think about what type of products are going to be in your box and what subscribers are expecting. If it is that really high quality stuff, which is great because it's the exact same niche that I operate in for Prosperly, is like really nicely artisanally made body goods and foods and stuff. You got to think about how you're pitching those vendors. It takes a lot of time and their ingredient costs can be high. So if you want them to meet you at cost, or less than wholesale and just barely covers their costs and maybe a little bit of their time, think about how you can incentivize the relationship to them. Extra marketing, putting inserts in your boxes, maybe doing a special deal through your newsletter. Maybe you agree to a certain number of social media posts throughout the month. Maybe it is you know, a referral to some cool friend you have who has a supermarket in this cool part of town. You know, flex your relationship, see what you can do to incentivize those types of vendors and see what works with those types of vendors, and then build a procurement strategy around that. And that's one of the things that you can do during your pre-launch that helps you determine those conversations. Like if you're in 2.5 weeks in doing your pre-launch and you're getting quotes for, you know, you think you're going to have roughly 100 boxes, or you want to quote at that range, that's something that you can get in front of very quickly by doing this pre-launch, like we talked about today. And Janine, if you want, go to you know, my blog, sign up for my newsletter, and I'll send you that brand invitation. You know, it's the first two pages of my brand invite, and my brand invite is geared towards convincing people to give me less than wholesale prices. Fundamentally, I will say this to everybody here: I think that we should pay less than wholesale prices with subscription boxes. Not only personally as a subscription box owner, but as an objective business person, I look at the situation and I can say this is different than a brick and mortar store who sells one-off items on a, you know, on a single per item basis and makes profit per item. We're doing something much different. Okay, we are putting products in a curated box, sending it to targeted customers, and doing a heck of a lot of promotion around it. You know, for our own self and for us to get us more subscribers, but also because you know, for the brands in our box and showing how great we are at Curator. So there's a lot of benefit there, and there's a really cool message that you can craft basically for any niche around that type of thinking. So I hope that answers your question, Janine. So Emily, what were the pre-launch pages hosted on? Cratejoy? Yeah, you can host your pre-launch page on Cratejoy. It can be on LaunchRock. If you go to Subscription School and you, or actually I'll just click this guide. If you go to Subscription School and you just, let's see here, open link, and you search for setting up a pre-launch, just type in the word pre-launch in the search button. And you can see another list of some more. So Instapage, LanderUp, Unbound, Kickoff Labs, Rocket Start, etc., etc. Those are all different options, and CrateJoys is new and it's offered just in beta right now, so email our support team. And I honestly think that the CrateJoy one is going to be a lot easier to use and be more effective than everybody else's. So I would suggest checking that out as a you know, as a step you do as you do these next couple items on your list. Kim asks, how many boxes should I have ready by my formal launch, including ones to send out for advertising or free boxes? So Kim, this is based on that true conversion rate. If you have 500 emails, I would expect to have at least 25 to 50 customers. That's that volume you're going to want to aim for, and that's why pre-launching can give you a lot of good help in estimating how many products you're going to need and what your procurement's going to require in your first month. Even if you don't have that many customers right now and you're only halfway through your pre-launch, I would suggest getting quotes for a higher number that you think is going to be close to what you actually order for. I would start getting quotes around the 50, 100, 150 unit basis, because that'll give you more. Don't ask, hey, how much for 15 items? I would definitely suggest aiming higher than that and trying to get a good quote on a what feels like a bulk order to a vendor, because that's going to give you a much better price. Sam asks, where can I find information on laws for shipping certain types of products? That's a great question, Sam. And I would say, you know, look at your shipping carrier. USPS, for example, has some specific requirements of what can be shipped. They have a perishable food requirement thing. So look at who you're going to be using for shipping. If it's in terms of like international stuff, you know, I assume that the FDA and whatever customs agency for those countries are going to be people that you can reach out to. And I'm sure that there's even consultants around that type of thing that make a hefty living off of it and giving people advice based on that very same question. Sam also asks, what's the difference between a lead, pre-subscriber, and a subscriber? A lead and a pre-subscriber are the same thing. So a lead would be someone who's on an email list generally. Generally, we just call that a lead. I mean, pre-subscribers are just people who sign up for your email list. We just call them pre-subscribers because we are subscription boxes. But that's those two things are one and the same. Now, a pre-subscriber and a subscriber are different because a subscriber has actually joined your box. When you have your first batch of pre-subscribers subscribe, you're going to be left with a lead list, the people who didn't subscribe. Those are all the leftover pre-subscribers. You can call those pre-subscribers, you can call them founding members, you can call them leads, but whatever they are not a subscriber because they have not given you any money. So that's the difference between those different things. And you know, you can even classify your funnel at different stages of your funnel. You can acquire people from different sources, put them through an automation, and you know, classify them as different things of qualify. Have they opened links before? You know, you can build your own funnel. So you can call it whatever you want. The difference is, have they made a purchase yet? Tiffany asks, what platform do you like to use to host your website? Cratejoy. I love to use Cratejoy. I use Cratejoy right now for Prosperly, and I say that unbiasedly, unbiasedly as an employee of Cratejoy can, I suppose. But I've built websites on static sites using PayPal. I've built them on Magento. I built them on WordPress using Chargeify. I've used Unbounce. I have used the whole host of different platforms out there. I've probably tried just about all of them, besides the really rubbish ones. And I think Cratejoy is not only the most simple one to use, but it's really cost effective. And they have like a team that's like laser focused on this. There are other platforms specifically for subscription boxes you'll find, but I can guarantee you they don't have the amount of funding, attention, and people like hardworking people working on the product than they do at Cratejoy. Cratejoy is, developing night and day and weekend to build the best platform possible, and I know that because I work with them now, and I watch them build that. For a long time I was just helping with subscription school and working with them because they were really cool guys, and it's only been recently that I've actually been a formal employee with them, and the only reason why I am is because I think they have a great platform, and the designer just got released new, and so they have a sweet new designer, so it also makes it a lot easier too. Okay, so let me get off that soapbox. How do I present the product to suppliers to get a lesser rate or free product? If you're trying to get, similar to what I just told Janine, if you're trying to get free or low cost products, it's about the pitch. What are you doing for them? Why does it make sense? Like just work through that. Like why would I give you $2,000 of free product? Because you're going to get me sales and you're going to generate me revenue. Fundamentally, that's what businesses want to have. If they're going to give you something for free to market them, they're going to want to see an ROI. So build that message around your brand and how you're doing it, and that's the number one way to do that. And for 3.5 years, I helped procure free product. That's a much more difficult pitch. It's much more difficult to scale that business model too, but it is not impossible. You can do it. And you'll probably have to work with a lot more medium, large size businesses who have the capacity to give you free product versus small Etsy style businesses who probably are making these things at home or out of a small shop. They don't have the means to give away thousands of products. So just keep that in mind when you think about free products. Will you write on how to use Cratejoy for us non-techies? You mentioned ROI or something, but I'm not sure what that means. Stuff like that, you have to make your brand completely in Photoshop, and then let me see here, get this full question. Stuff like you have to make your brand completely in Photoshop and then upload it to Cratejoy if that's how you do it. I see. So Kim, I would definitely suggest checking out the help docs at Cratejoy, watching the designer video walkthrough. It's pretty easy. It's like a plug and play now. The designers are much more sophisticated than it used to be. But for non-techie people, I don't feel super able to provide those answers to you in the exact way that you're looking, because myself, I'm not a developer. But I would say that finding developers and spending $50-100 on your brand is not a crazy high expense. And if you go to the resources section and you look at designers, Jason gets really good reviews, and he's it starts at like $100 for like a lot of good work on your site. So the Cratejoy support team recommends him, and they encourage me to add him on here. So he's a great resource that's low cost and does a great job and is familiar with the platform. And there are things there, I think, Kim, that by spending $50-100 onto a developer will save you hours and hours of time. But I will definitely talk to the team and see if there's anything that we can do guide-wise to develop something that's useful for you. Natalie, thank you for the compliment. I'm glad you liked the webinar. After Cratejoy, and when a business grows and needs more custom platform, is your platform set up for easy transfer of customers, credit card info, etc.? Natalie, Cratejoy is an enterprise platform. When you say a custom platform, you can customize your website completely right now. I mean, you do not have to use the templates that Cratejoy provides. Cratejoy provides the exact same thing that a WordPress and Chargeify thing is going to provide you. The exact same thing that a Squarespace and Shopify store is going to provide you. It's a designer. It's an account management tool. It's analytics. You have access to a marketplace. Like, it is an enterprise solution. So there's no reason to transfer off of Cratejoy. If you want to like negotiate rates and stuff like that, you can do it with Cratejoy just like you do it with any other business. I'm sure you talk to the account management team, and I'm sure that when you're getting lots of transactions, you have higher clout. But that's the same exact thing you're going to have to deal with any platform. Cratejoy is fully scalable. There are people with tens of thousands of subscribers on Cratejoy, people who are doing millions of dollars of revenue who use the platform. So it in no means is like a beginner platform. And I would really discourage, Natalie, too, even if you don't use Cratejoy, don't choose a platform that you think you're going to have to migrate away from. Migration is really difficult. It's very, very time consuming. You have to get a lot of clearance from your processors to transfer that payment information into new billing systems. It is like not an easy process, and basically anybody you choose, you should be prepared to stick with. And honestly, I think that Cratejoy is going to give you the best deal with the best level of support specifically for subscription boxes than you're going to find anywhere else in the space. What are your thoughts on creating a box when boxes are already created in that same niche? Create it anyways, Victoria. Totally ignore your competitors. That is literally my advice. There are hundreds of millions of consumers, and if your space is anything besides like, local stuff from, Bend, Oregon, and you only market to Bend, and there's another Bend, Oregon subscription, outside of like cases like that, you're going to have plenty of opportunity to convert hundreds of people to be your own customers. Be aware of your competitive, do a competitive analysis of your space, but like, don't like try to mimic or copy price points or copy product offering. Like, do your thing the way that you think it should be executed, and I guarantee you can still find customers. Look at how many beauty boxes there are. Ipsy, Birchbox, both of those have over 1 million subscribers. They don't have to operate in a purely exclusive fashion. There's no niche ever for any business model where there's only one thing and it doesn't make sense to create another one. That's the whole beauty of business, is create different supply. You can do it. I don't understand how to ship. I can't tell if it's cheaper to get my wholesale boxes than ship them or use a USPS flat rate. My product isn't over 1 pound, so what's more beneficial? I would definitely suggest shipping through USPS first class mail. If you're under 1 pound, then you can be in first class mail, and your shipping costs will be much, much lower. Do not go to the post office, and do not buy shipping rates from people who serve you at the post office. Buy postage from Cratejoy, buy postage from Pirate Ship. They're a subscription box batch shipping platform that does, it makes it easy to ship batches. Use, ShipStation. ShipStation integrates with Cratejoy. But whatever you do, do not use the USPS or UPS in-store, because those prices are really, really, really high. And so the way I'd answer that question is get your own packaging, order it in bulk, as bulk as you can, 100 boxes or so at a time, and then use those boxes with another third-party service who gives you access to base level pricing with a small premium that's still cheaper than what you get at a normal commercial rate. And for shipping too, I should say that you can ship from within the Cratejoy platform. Another reason why, to Natalie's point, I couldn't see a good reason to navigate away from Cratejoy is because you can even buy postage and ship from within Cratejoy. You can't do that from within Chargeify and WordPress. That's not something that you're going to easily be able to batch ship from. You'll have to download all those shipments and upload them to something like ShipStation and then do that. With Cratejoy, you at least have the option to keep all of your shipments and purchases all literally in one platform. And so you print those labels, you slap them on your boxes, and then you hand them off to your postage provider. How should I know if my vlogger is being influential? Is it okay to ask the subscriber where they heard about me? Absolutely. And then give them options of people I've selected to give a free box to. And then give them options of the people I've selected to give a free box to. I'm not sure on the third part of that question, but you should find out if your blogger is influential by seeing the traffic that comes from the channel. Get Google Analytics set up and see how much traffic they're pushing, see how much engagement they're getting, how many likes, how many comments, that type of thing. And you can certainly ask your subscribers where they came from. In a follow-up to your welcome email when they subscribe, you could send a form that says, tell us how you heard about us and what you thought of your first box. For my influential vloggers, can I send them a flyer and tagline for them to mass post over social media? Absolutely. How does using a shipping consolidator work? Also, if you use a fulfillment service, how can you ensure that the products will be presented correctly? John, great question. Using a shipping consolidator, which I imagine you're referring to like Pirate Ship or Cratejoy or ShipStation. It's simple. You create an account with them and you connect your bank account and you upload your addresses in the file format that CreateJoy provides, which you can directly upload to all of those people that I just mentioned. And then you just buy the postage. It gets taken out of your account. They send you a PDF that you can then print. And so that's how it works. If you're to use a fulfillment service, use the ones that we list here under the resources page. All of these fulfillment services have experience with subscription boxes, and there's a whole process behind it. I won't go into all the detail, Sean, but they'll send you photos of what your box will be that you can approve. So, and a lot of the fulfillment companies, actually all of them here on Subscription School, they all know what they're doing. We've worked with every single one of them, or we've had merchants recommend them based on the quality work that they do. Is the only way to get my store out of test mode to purchase the plan? I should know this. I'm not really sure. Probably. I think so. If you're going to start accepting revenue, yeah, you'd have to purchase the plan. I'm not totally sure I should know that answer, but you can always email support@creator.com if you're confused. Besides creating a logo, what is the average price when launching? Totally depends on your space, Thaddeus. I mean, I think somewhere between 20 and 40 bucks is probably a good range to have enough money for shipping, products, that type of thing. I want 1 million subscribers, says Victoria. Victoria, I also want 1 million subscribers. Okay, so, oh yes, like, where did you hear about me, Bob, Susie, Chris? Yeah, so this isn't the question, is can you ask where your subscribers are from? Absolutely. Yep, just, that's perfect. Just ask them, give them a checklist, and they can check where they heard about you from. Kim, you're welcome. Thank you for sticking around, and if you were in the webinar Wednesday, thanks for coming back. That's all the questions you guys have for me. Be sure to go on the right-hand side of your GoToWebinar control panel and download the slides from today. It's under the handout section. This webinar was recorded. I hope I didn't drag on anything and my voice didn't squeak at all. And I will put up the video on Subscription School in the next couple of days. Otherwise, if you guys have questions, comments, concerns, you want to do just certain topics, when you leave the webinar today, there'll be a questionnaire. Please, please, please fill that out. Let me know how I did. Let me know about what you guys want to cover next. And I hope you join us in our webinar next week on holiday sales and the holiday season, because it's going to be a really cool webinar, all brand new content, and you're going to get a lot of really cool ideas to boost your revenue like really, really, really significantly over the next couple of months. So it's going to be a really high value webinar that we'll do maybe only once or twice more before the holiday season is over, and then we're going to wait another 9 months. So definitely jump into that. It'll be a lot of good firepower you can apply to the rest of the year as well. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you guys in Subscription School's Facebook group. Follow us on YouTube, Facebook. Hit me up on Facebook. And otherwise, have a great weekend. Good luck with your ideas, and I will see you all later. All right, bye.